Far Rockaway is a peninsula on the edge of Queens. Notice how wide open my line of sight is, and you don't have that in a lot of places in New York. We're a small community, but there's a lot of history here. Can I get 2 bacon, egg, and cheese? It's a little skimpy, I must admit. That's the elementary school I went to, PS 106. I'm gonna take y'all closer to that. I just saw them, and I was like, oh, seagulls, that's so nice.
What's going on, guys? Very cold day out here in Queens, but it's still beautiful, and I'm out here with Regi Angelou.
Hey, I'm Regi Angelou, and we are at Mott Avenue off the last stop in Far Rockaway, off the A train. As you can see behind me, a lot of things are changing. There is construction going on, things being built up everywhere, but it's not changing everywhere because this same liquor store been here since I was a little girl. That same beauty supply store, that same trash, probably that same cat right there that's walking. But this is my community and I love it. Far Rockaway is a peninsula on the edge of Queens that it's pretty far from everything, hence the name Far Rockaway. And yeah, it's where I'm from. It is a beach community, it's diverse, and we out here. Let them know, can you tell them again where we at?
We in Far Rockaway, we on Mott Avenue, you heard? You gotta take a stop in Brooklyn, you heard? Don't forget Brooklyn.
Down this way, down Beach Channel Drive, Red Fern is down there. That's where Stacked Bundles is from. That's where Stacked Bundles died. Kinks is from Rockaway too, so shout out to all the rappers that are from Far Rockaway that have been holding our skills down, holding our name down, because rappers come from Far Rockaway and we be rapping. When it comes to food, you have this Jamaican Breeze buffet right here, Far Rockaway Jamaican restaurant. This was the public library that I went to throughout my whole childhood. It was always here, it never changed. It was really antiquated and like they needed a lot of upgrades. Peace. It was really antiquated, they needed a lot of things. And lo and behold, the whole thing is being renovated and upgraded and changed around. They got multiple floors now. It used to just be one little dark floor with books and slow dial-up internet, but now it's about to be popping. We're on 20th Street right now. This is another kind of center for commerce in Far Rockaway. Everything kind of centers around Mott Avenue. See, they're selling Uggs, what they got? Gucci bags, Louis bags. People working, people hustling. That's the precinct that we have here. Around the corner is the PAL, which is the Police Athletic League, which is like a community center that a lot of the kids grew up on, that I grew up on. But right behind you, we're gonna go to this hair salon, DAC Hair Salon, because I want to talk to this owner that Denny? Yeah. Hey, it's Gina. I'm good, I'm good. 10 years? Mm-hmm. For 10 years, my big sister had a chair right here in this hair salon. So I would always come here and get my hair done. Sometimes if my sister wasn't here, then Denny would do my hair for me. So it was, I have very good memories in the salon. This used to be like,
thank you.
Yes, I would come here like after school. It was just like my thing to do. So very good memories here. This is the PAL, the Sorrentino Center. This was an after school spot that a lot of kids came to. This was some of our babysitters. Like, this place goes back. A popular name that you might know from here is Stan's Pepper Steppers. They did double dutch. My sister was a part of the crew. My cousins were a part of the crew. I never got into the double dutch team, but Stan's Pepper Steppers were it. And they were right here at the PAL. So shout out to this place because it raised a lot of us. It's a really awesome place. It raised a lot of us. Not just this area, like talking about the streets that we're around, but in all of Far Rockaway, there's a lot of Jewish population. So you see, like, when we get to where we're going, you'll see the neighborhood change. There is a lot of generally segregation. It's still a situation in New York City, in Queens, in Far Rockaway, but where we are is mostly Jewish area, so you have grocery stores that are kosher. You'll see a lot of synagogues. They're just different, you know, communities that coexist together, and this is a way that we do it. We have our own grocery stores and other services. Since it's freezing outside and it's snowing unexpectedly, I think it's snowing just because it's Far Rockaway, because it was clearly was not snowing elsewhere. We're gonna take an Uber for this short walk that we would have taken. We're about to pass St. John's Hospital. St. John's Hospital was the only hospital in Rockaway after Peninsula Hospital had closed down. There just wasn't much quality medical care, and a few of my loved ones, young loved ones who didn't have to die, died in St. John's Hospital. So let's just state that as a fact. But the healthcare on this peninsula has been a topic of serious debate, because a lot of people feel that there is not adequate health care for the people on the peninsula, unless you're paying privately for a private doctor, but as is not the case for most people. St. John's Hospital is what we have. Yes, please. Thank you. So this is where I grew up, and I actually grew up directly, and you can continue straight around. In 2030, I grew up in the building 2030, which is this one right here. And this was my community in Wavecrest. Now, it's a gated in community. In the 90s, it was like the really nice place to live, because there weren't very many nice places to live in this particular area. But just as we pass Wavecrest right here, in front of us is the bungalow community in the 20s. The streets in the 20s. So this is 25th Street in front of us, and then we're gonna go to 26th Street, another street that I grew up on. And they're right next to each other. So between my mother's house, where I really lived, and my grandmother's house, where I was most often, I had a diverse upbringing, a diverse experience. And we'll talk about that when we go see some family members. Okay, and you can actually let us out on the corner right here. Beach 26th Street, we're right on the beach, and I'm gonna go to this deli that has been here since my childhood. These are chips that you don't have, you can't just get these in other places. The tostones, the plantain chips, and we have Y snacks. We used to have Y snacks. Yeah, see the Y's brand cheese doodles, the Cheetos. That's a new brand. That's not real. This is the real one. I had $1 every day, and my snack was the coffee cakes, but they don't got it no more. They stopped making them. Can I get 2 bacon, egg, and cheese? What you was making? Make it 2. Thank you. That's fatback.
That's on pig.
Yes,
oh,
they
yeah,
don't have that
like,
in Brooklyn.
well, you know,
that's not the type of time Brooklyn be on. You on that gentrification. This is like what the delis in Rockaway, like the real down home delis, give you. You can't get this everywhere. You can't. My bad, baby. Go ahead. This is a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bit. Wow, you got the cinnamon raisin too. Now I want yours.
The last one.
Wow.
It's the last one.
It's a little skimpy, I must admit, because it should be fatter. Like, there should be a little bit more egg on it and a little bit more bacon, but it's acceptable. We gonna eat these bacon, egg, and cheeses. From the deli, they mad good. If you come to Far Rockaway, come to 26th Street and get you a bacon, egg, and cheese, but tell them to give you a little extra bacon and a little extra egg, because it's a little bit skimpy. This is the bungalows. All these houses were just built like in the last maybe 15 years. I'm surprised that these buildings were allowed to be built, because there's specific zoning regulations to protect the culture of the bungalows. Like, these bungalows are historic. They were meant for summer homes for rich people that came from Long Island, and they wanted to have a summer home to come live in, and then they left in the winter, and they were basically abandoned in the winter. In the 50s, I think it was, they became housing for people year round. They were not winterized. They're very simple. Like, if you look at the material that it's made of, They're very simple buildings, and they weren't always winterized. Now they're winterized, but if you look, we're right on the beach. It's a dead end because the beach is right there, and it is freezing during the winter, but somehow people made it through. Sheer will and determination. My grandmother lived here all of my life, and I actually grew up in this unit right here. It's real different now. You know, the same sense of community is not there. Since my grandmother died, she was kind of like the one that took care of everybody's kids, because our uncles and dads and everything was young wild niggas, so they wasn't really watching us. But my grandmother took care of everybody's kids. Everybody called her grandma. And after she died, I think that's when the community really started to change, when people moved out. So it was possible for companies to take advantage of the cheap sale of houses. Where's my grandma?
If you don't,
Yeah,
you gotta go
and those
do
my
nothing.
cousins. Oh, that's my Uncle George.
Yeah,
They're brothers, and that's my father's brother. My Aunt Marianne, my Uncle Bookie's wife, and that's Amanda, my little cousin. I, grew up with her. I was a little older than her, but we just like played out here.
They start shooting, and you got to run. If you walk down the
They
block,
been shooting ever since I was little, though. That ain't new.
but wait, if you walk down the block now, you see candles laying down on the ground. The guy who got shot, he got shot by a kid in the airport. You heard about that? The kid got shot.
He would have us forever. He would have us forever. These are the candles he was telling us about right here. When I was growing up, the bungalows that were closer to the beach, we didn't really like go to those. Like those were like sketchy bungalows for some reason. We like walked past them quickly. This beach was very local. Like people who lived in the area, because as you can see, there are buildings, wave crests right there. There's a lot of people who lived in the area actually used this beach. But it wasn't like the more desirable beach. You know, there's a private beach not too far from here, Jones Beach. But this is our beach. I love this beach. I grew up mainly on 26th Street, Beach 26th Street, right off the beach, with my grandmother, with my cousins, my uncle, my uncles, because my father had a lot of brothers and their families and their kids, and we just all grew up in the same area. And it was great growing up like that, because in this enclosed, this dead-end street, we had a lot of free reign. So we were just really free kids. We just knew how to watch over ourselves. We didn't really get in too much trouble because we just all respected like a code, an etiquette. My siblings, my family, and all my cousins, they pretty much lived in Far Rockaway. Never left Far Rockaway. So they graduated from high school, or possibly didn't graduate from high school here. But I moved to North Carolina. I was kind of kicking and screaming the whole way because I didn't have the same experience that my siblings had. I wanted to fully grow up in New York. So I'm always coming back and forth in the summers and just reveling in every moment that I have here. Wasn't really thinking about college when I was in New York. It wasn't a thing that I saw. I wasn't really just thinking about more options, just because it wasn't a part of my culture here. It wasn't a part of my education. It wasn't like a regular part of my day, and I didn't see people around me that were talking about education a lot. But in North Carolina, everybody was talking about education. When I moved back, I started my education research. I did a master's program for special education, and then I found a program for school leadership in San Diego. That program for school leadership, it was from a school called High Tech High. The program was amazing, and it really showed me what kids in extremely rich communities, what they're getting systemically. And that's not the same thing that kids in New York are getting. That's not the same thing that I was getting. That's not the same thing that my siblings got and my nieces and nephews were getting. So I wanted to create that here. You only see seagulls by the beach in Far Rockaway. and now live uptown, and I don't see them. I forgot about them.
Over here.
But I just saw them. Oh, okay. I just saw them, and I was like, oh, seagulls, that's so nice. Looking up at the birds, I'm like, I can see really far. I notice how wide open my line of sight is, and you don't have that in a lot of places in New York. This is like one of the few places in New York where you can have like open vision and see far away. In Brooklyn, the streets are real tight together, brownstones, you can't really see too far. It's a building right in front of you. And in the city, the buildings are mad tall and tight together. This is 36th Street. That's how far we've walked. Because the train, the last stop is at Mott Avenue. And then you gotta go to 26th Street. And then this is 36th Street. And it's not like we went in a straight line. We walked like a lot. So that's the elementary school I went to, PS 106. I'm gonna take y'all closer to that. This was my elementary school when I lived in Far Rockaway. I went to PS 106. My sister went to St. Mary's. It's a private school on the other end of where we just walked from. We are walking to Bayswater Park. It's a nice park. It's a nice sized park, but it's the park where all the barbecues went down. They had the good basketball courts, so my cousins always used their courts to play basketball. Even though we didn't live that close to this park, but it was just the place where everybody went for barbecues, to just to chill in the park, to skate if you had skates. This is Far Rockaway. It's part of Queens, but we separate. We like a whole nother borough. We the 6th borough. That's what we call it. But Far Rockaway is geographically isolated from the rest of New York. So there's some social differences here, always has been.
Well guys, that's the end of the video. Big thank you to Regina for taking us out here.
Yes, thank y'all for kicking it with me in Far Rockaway. I'm glad that you joined. You know, we have a rich history here. We're a small community, but there's a lot of history here. We're standing in front of Edgemere houses right now, and Far Rockaway was actually the first community to have housing projects at all, and that happened in the 1940s under Mayor LaGuardia. So, you know, there's just so much here, and I appreciate y'all kicking it with me in Far Rockaway. Peace.